Okay, so get this right. Dirty Decca, this UK podcaster, he's gone, like totally nuclear online.
Mm.
And it is wild. Accusations, raw emotion, the whole 9 yards.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, so we're diving into this whole thing, this YouTube video. And even the title is intense, like, quote, Dirty Decca Heggie and Ron Swanson,
Right.
end quote. But it has boxing gloves and one of those exploding head emojis.
Oh, no.
Oh, yeah.
Yikes.
Like, buckle up, right? This is going to be good. But here's the thing. It's not just like, some random drama.
Mm-hmm.
Decca, he's really laying bare some, like, deep stuff about building a career online these days.
Right. And what's so fascinating about this is that we're seeing this raw, unfiltered side of him. This isn't some carefully crafted persona. It's raw emotion. And it really makes you think about the pressures these creators face that need to be constantly on, you know?
Yeah, and it's like this glimpse behind the curtain, right? And Decca is holding nothing back. He's talking about feeling betrayed by people he thought were friends, online trolls, just this feeling of constant attack.
Yeah.
It's intense.
Mm-hmm.
He even mentioned this recorded conversation with someone named Ron Swanson. That seems to be at the heart of it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. See, this kind of thing, it highlights something really important about online spaces. These kinds of disputes, they're more common than you might think. You've got content theft, personal disagreements, just this constant pressure to stand out, to grow your audience. It's a breeding ground for conflict, you know?
Totally. And social media, it just throws gasoline on that fire.
Absolutely.
And you can hear in Decca's voice, like, the frustration, the hurt,
Yeah.
it's palpable. There's even this part where he's like, do they want me to commit suicide? Which, honestly, that's really concerning.
Yeah. It's a really dark side to all of this. That statement really highlights the mental toll this online harassment takes, this constant feeling of being attacked from all sides. It's exhausting. And when it spills over into your personal life, your relationships, your mental health, that's when it goes from online drama to something much more serious.
It's true. And to make things even more, like, layered, Decca's not giving specifics. He mentions these expose videos and trying to clear his name.
No, or missing pieces.
Yeah. We're missing pieces of the puzzle.
It's like we're only getting one side of the story, which is so often the case online. We get these raw emotions, but no context. It's a good reminder to be careful about jumping to conclusions, right? When we only have part of the story.
Exactly. And it makes you wonder, what's the full picture here? Decca, he talks about people like digging into his past, spreading rumors, just trying to ruin his reputation. It's like he feels under attack from all sides.
And that feeling, that constant scrutiny, judgment, it's incredibly isolating, isn't it?
It is.
This constant fear that someone's always watching, waiting for you to mess up, it's exhausting.
Yeah. Okay, but here's what I find really interesting. On the one hand, Decca's asking to be left alone, talking about the negativity. But then on the other hand, he's using some pretty harsh language himself, calling people bums and bastards. It's a little contradictory. Right?
Absolutely. And it speaks to this weird paradox of online life, doesn't it? Like, we crave authenticity, but get so easily sucked into the drama and negativity. It's like these platforms, they're designed to make our voices louder, but sometimes that amplification makes us come across as more aggressive than we mean to, you know?
So true. Okay, so zooming out for a sec, what does all this say about the world of podcasting in general? Is this level of drama just part of the game?
It's a good question, and while I wouldn't say this is an everyday occurrence, Decca's experience does reflect some of the challenges of building a career online, especially in a place like the UK. The podcasting scene there is different.
Oh, how so?
Well, for one, the UK's podcasting scene is super crowded, right? You've got tons of people all vying for listeners. That creates pressure, and unfortunately, sometimes that pressure boils over.
Yeah, that makes sense. So it's like this pressure cooker of talent and ambition. Everyone's fighting for their space.
Exactly. Decca's outburst, it's unsettling, but it is a reminder that even online, it's still real people with real emotions. And online, those emotions can get amplified, sometimes with real-world consequences.
Totally. Like, we see those curated online personas, but there's a whole person behind them.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's like Decca's reached his breaking point.
It seems that way, yeah.
When Decca was talking about wanting to be left alone, it really got me thinking, like, is true privacy even possible these days?
Yeah.
Especially online.
Right.
It feels like the more connected we all are, the harder it is to hold on to any privacy.
It's such a paradox, isn't it?
Yeah.
We want connection, right? To share our lives, be part of communities, but that comes at a price, and that price is often our privacy.
Exactly. And it's not even just about what we're putting out there ourselves. It's all the data that's collected about us behind the scenes, tracked, analyzed, traded.
Yeah.
It's like we're always being watched, categorized, and like commodified.
You're right, and that constant feeling of surveillance, it creates this unease, this pressure to always be on, to perform. I think it keeps us from truly being ourselves online.
It's like living in a digital panopticon, you know, always under scrutiny.
Yes, and that's what makes Decca's story so interesting. He's right in the middle of it all, this struggle between being authentic and wanting to protect himself.
Totally. He's open, he's vulnerable with his audience, and he keeps getting burned. It makes you wonder, when does being authentic become self-destructive?
It's a question we all have to ask ourselves these days, you know? Whether you're a public figure or just someone who uses social media, finding that balance, it's tricky.
It really is. And honestly, it's bigger than just us as individuals, too. The platforms we're using, those algorithms, they're designed to keep us engaged, even if it's bad for us.
Totally. I mean, these companies have a responsibility to make their spaces safer, to empower users, not exploit them.
Right. There's this part where Decca says he thinks the people coming after him get off on it. He actually calls them bullies, which is, I mean, is that fair? Is it really bullying if it's happening online?
It's a tough question. I think the internet makes it harder to define traditional bullying. But here's the thing. Words have power. Doesn't matter if they're spoken or typed. If the intent is to hurt, intimidate, silence someone, I think you can absolutely call that bullying.
You're right. It's easy to forget there's a real person behind the screen. That anonymity can make us pretty callous.
It's true. We forget that everyone online, they have their own lives, feelings, struggles.
And you know what I've been thinking about? What about the people watching this unfold? The followers, the commenters, those who share the posts?
Yeah.
We're not off the hook here, are we?
Not at all. Our likes, our shares, we all contribute to this ecosystem of online drama. Every time we engage, it tells the platforms, give us more of this.
It's like this giant feedback loop of negativity.
Exactly. So we have to be aware of that.
Yeah.
Be mindful of what we consume and how we engage with it. We need to be more critical, more empathetic.
You're right. Instead of jumping to share or leave a snarky comment, maybe we just take a beat. Ask ourselves, are we part of the problem or part of the solution?
100%. We need to be a force for good online. Be more compassionate. Create a better digital space. Remember, words have power, and we can choose to use them to lift each other up.
So well said.
Yeah.
Now, you mentioned the UK podcasting scene being especially competitive. What makes it different from other places, like here in the US, for example?
Well, the UK has this long history with audio storytelling, right? Think radio dramas, comedy shows, they're already primed for audio content.
That's true.
And the UK is small, geographically speaking, so it's like everyone is competing for the same pool of listeners.
It's a smaller pond, but with a lot of big fish.
Exactly. And in that environment, you have to stand out. You have to hustle. It creates a lot of pressure, which can be both exciting and, well, we're seeing how it can go wrong.
Yeah. And Decca, he's made a career of being outspoken, pushing boundaries.
Right, but that's a tightrope walk, especially online. One wrong step
And it's all over the internet.
Exactly.
It's interesting, though, because even though he's out there, Decca also seems to really dislike the business side of things. Like, he said he hates always having to grow his audience, get sponsorships, all of that.
Well, that's the eternal struggle for artists, isn't it? Art versus commerce. You want to create authentically, but you also have to make a living.
It's true. It's a balancing act. Okay, but there's one more thing that really stood out to me. Decca keeps mentioning this enhanced DBS he's waiting for. He's adamant about getting it, making it public, even though his family is advising against it. What is that about?
Yeah, that is interesting. It shows how our online and offline lives are inseparable now. So a DBS check, it's basically a background check required for certain jobs in the UK, especially anything involving children or vulnerable adults.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
So for Decca to bring it up publicly like this, whatever he's facing must be serious.
Definitely raises the stakes. It also makes you think about this whole idea of online transparency. There's this expectation, especially for someone in the public eye, to be open about everything. But that can backfire, you know, especially with sensitive information.
Absolutely. It's like, what do you do? Do you address it head on and risk more scrutiny?
Mm.
Or stay silent and let the rumors run wild? There's no winning, is there?
Right. It highlights this strange thing where our online selves can feel separate from our real lives, but then they collide and, well, it gets messy.
We're all living these double lives now, anyway. Online personas, carefully curated. But behind that, we're all just figuring it out as we go.
Exactly. We're all just messy, complicated people trying to find our way.
That's the truth. So we've talked about a lot here. The pressures of life online, the
Yeah.
wild world of UK podcasting. What's the takeaway for people? What can we learn from Decca's story?
Those are the big questions, right? I don't know if there's an easy answer, but I do think Decca's experience is a chance for all of us to look at how we behave online. Are we being the best versions of ourselves?
It's a call to action, for sure, to create a digital world with more compassion, more empathy.
Exactly. And that starts with each of us making that choice.
You know, it's funny, right? Decca's story is like this weird microcosm of the whole online world. The good, the bad, the pressure, I don't know, it just makes you think.
I know exactly what you mean. So we're all still figuring out the rules of this digital age.
Totally. And the rules are changing every 5 minutes. It's exhausting. Like,
Yeah.
be authentic, but also don't you dare say the wrong thing.
Exactly. 1 minute it's all about being real. The next you're getting canceled for something you said years ago. It's like, how can anyone keep up? Yeah.
Right. And it creates this culture where everyone's terrified to speak their minds.
Absolutely. It's this fear of making a mistake, of being judged. And it pushes us all further away from the authenticity we claim to want.
It's so true.
Yeah.
And Decca, he sees it. He hates this whole thing of having to build his brand, grow his audience, all of that. But at the same time, he's trapped in it, like all of us.
It's that classic push and pull. Be true to yourself, but also play the game, get those followers. It's like, what do you even choose?
And the more successful you get, the bigger the target on your back, right? It's like people are almost waiting for you to mess up.
Oh, totally. There's definitely a bit of schadenfreude going on there. That feeling of, see?
Yeah.
They're not so perfect after all.
I know. It's kind of messed up when you really think about it. But I guess that's just part of being human, huh?
Yeah.
Capable of amazing things, but also a little bit cruel sometimes.
That's it, right. The highs and lows of humanity. And I think that's why Decca's story resonates. It's a reflection of all our complexities, our own contradictions.
It's a cautionary tale, for sure. Be careful what you wish for, because online fame has a dark side.
And honestly, it's bigger than just fame. It's about how we exist in this online space, how to be ourselves, but also protect ourselves, the need for connection, but also the importance of privacy. It's a lot.
So where do we go from here? How do we create a better, kinder digital world? One where we can actually, be ourselves without fear.
Honestly, I don't know if there's a single answer, but I do think it starts with us, each of us making a conscious choice to be better. Think before we post, be respectful, choose empathy.
That sounds pretty idealistic.
Maybe, but the online world is here to stay, right?
Yeah.
It's part of our lives now, so we have to at least try to make it a place that reflects the best of us, not the worst.
Reclaiming the human in the digital. I love that. Well, on that note, I think it's time to wrap up this deep dive. It's been quite the journey.
It has.
From the wild world of Dirty Decca all the way to the meaning of life. Almost. But seriously, thanks to everyone for listening and for, thinking about all of this with us. It's been a good one.